that you can even take those steps and do them. Because why, if you have no record for doing it, why would you think you could do it? You know, but that shouldn't stop you. And then making relationships. So I did my first event, just using this as an example of why I even got into this mix and how it inspired me to keep going. Excuse me. I had to find the venue. I had to speak with the venue, explain to them what I was trying to do with no track record. Why would they let me do it? You know what I mean? And so being able to make that happen, getting a flyer made. I had to work with one of my buddies who knew how to draw, and so he drew up the flyer. You know what I mean? I went to Villanova University, which I was living nearby, and printed up flyers. You know what I mean? They thought I was a college student there, and so they just let me print off as many flyers as I wanted. So it's just about deciding, taking those steps, and so those steps can be broken down to be pretty granular, but really it's just about, again, seeing an opportunity, thinking you can go do it, planning out your steps, trying to put something on paper. A lot of people have ideas and they want to talk about people's ideas, but they haven't yet put it on paper. When you put it on paper, you start to see where the holes are. You start to see what you need to know more about. And so this process, like I said, I'm used to it. In '08, I saw a ton of people jump into this space because of what was going on with the job market. And so I realized at that point that all the work I had done with artists up to that point, and on myself as a business person, really applied to so many people transitioning. It didn't matter what field they were in, what industry they were in. It all applied the same way. And so that's what inspired Indie Life.
Well, that's great. Amazing. That's really good to hear. And what I'm happy to hear also is how you broke it down, right? You broke it down in ways that other entrepreneurs, whether you are existing or you're a budding entrepreneur, you're out there right now thinking about it, right? Well, what else do I need to do to get some income coming in? You did break down some very important points. And one other thing, might I add, that you added in there, but I want to also be very specific about, and that is the communication, right? Talking to these people, showing them the vision, understanding that in this particular situation, I got to sell these people on why, they should actually be a part of the process, right? In terms of bringing my dream to life. And although I don't have this experience, I do have these plans, right? And I do have, these other people that I'm bringing to light to make this happen. So shout out to your friend who also made the flyers. I think we all back in the day, we had that friend or that colleague who's like, yo, the flyer makers. So shout out to all the flyer makers back in the day. We were all slamming to do our flyers for our events. So thanks for that historical context as well, man.
I love it. I absolutely love it. If you're just tuning in, it's Let's Talk on 100.3 R&B and hip hop. If you have any questions for my special guest, feel free to give us a call, 215-263-1003. I think we have somebody on the line. Going to see if we can get them live on air. Hi, who is this? You are live on air. Oh, okay. Yes, we have switched stations. So yes, he's on a different station now. Yes, ma'am. Well, ma'am, I understand. I believe it's on Classics 107.9, so you can go to our sister station. All right. Thank you. All right. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye. Oh, the joys of live radio.
Gotta love it. You gotta love it.
I love it so much.
Gotta love it. And awesome. Here we are. So my question to you, Rafiq, you have been living this indie life, like you said, for most of your adult life. How do you maintain that? How do you maintain that? So many people want to do it, but have not been able to make that jump, to make that happen. How have you been able to maintain that for so long and not get back into regular job life?
So I have had jobs, but I was lucky enough to be independent in those jobs. And so around '03, some friends of mine had a marketing company called Tri Agency here in Philly. L and Jack Boogie.
Sure do.
Yep. Phil Gracie and those cats train. So they had Tri Agency, and it was a new, recently developed thing that had come out, which was experiential marketing. And it had been around for a while, but it was really sort of relegated just to like trade shows. You know, you go to trade shows, you see a stall, it's all dressed up, and there's someone there, and they're wearing the, you know, the uniform, and you know, they're handing you something, they're giving you free goodies, making you sign up. They essentially took that and put it on the street, because what was happening with social media was getting so crazy that brands realized they had to really touch their audiences face to face, and so they started putting people like me out on the street to represent their brand. And so I became a brand ambassador. And Jack and those cats gave me my first job doing that. And I became a manager of that very quickly after that because of my experience producing shows. And so I had never even looked at my experience as producing shows as really marketable experience in the job market. It didn't really translate to me because it just seemed like entertainment. It seemed like the arts, and I didn't get it. And so they helped me redo my resume. And I was able to get that, you know, first gig, and I kept that going for years. So I did that for about 15 years, working with various marketing companies. I worked with all kinds of brands, from Pepsi to Cadillac to TD Bank to T-Mobile to Metro PCS to, you know, dozens of them. And I was either working for them, either directly for the marketing department of that company or for a marketing company hired by that brand. And so that kept me going, but it's a flexible schedule. And so it was very good pay. I traveled a lot doing it. I was a tour manager, so I did marketing campaigns that came to Philly, but also as they traveled around the States, I did those also. So that allowed me to be in my field, not in entertainment, but in events, because touring is, you know, events on 1,000, you know what I mean? If you can imagine any event you've been to, if you pick it up, put it in a vehicle and take it somewhere and then keep doing that, that's a huge effort, you know what I mean? And it really grew my experience as an event producer just tenfold. And then it also trained me in branding, which was a deep passion of mine. So just those flyers became much more than just flyers, you know what I mean? They were like, I understood what was behind a piece of advertisement, you know what I mean? And so I got trained. I've been at the table with the VPs of everything from GM to Pepsi, you know what I mean? Marketing VPs, that is. And I've seen how it works. And I really, my thing was, I never wanted to climb that ladder. The next step for me would have been to become an account manager in that field. And honestly, I would be making ridiculous money right now if I had chosen that route. But it's always been about having my own thing. And when I never wanted to use those powers for evil, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't like the idea. I'm gonna say this. A lot of people say, I've been saying this for so long. People say money is the root of all evil. It's not money. It's marketing. It's marketing because it will train you against your own self.
Wow.
It'll make you just think things that have nothing to do with what you naturally believe. And it's meant to do that, to make you go buy the thing that that they want you to buy.
Right.
So why do you shop? Why do you automatically think of Home Depot when you need a tool set instead of thinking of the mom and pop shop around the corner? You know what I mean? Because you've seen it 1,000 times a day. Because the logo is bright orange and white. You know what I mean?
Right. Hard to miss.
It's all there to make you buy that. So I just never wanted to get into that. But I wanted to use those same tools, you know what I mean, for better projects. Honestly, I've always loved projects. This idea of like, I love it when somebody calls me or emails me and they're like, hey, I'm working on something, I thought of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love that. That's my favorite thing. I'm like, what you thinking about? Let's tackle it. What are we gonna do? Let's sit down and figure it out and do it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So anyway, that's what it's been about for me. I don't know if I completely answered your question. But essentially that career has what's allowed me to keep flexible. I haven't had a 9 to 5 since I was I don't know if I've ever had an actual 9 to 5. Wow. But even just the weekend structure of the month, I don't have that either. And so that's just freed me up. You know what I mean? In my opinion, time is just so much more valuable than money. And I'd rather be half broke than to not have my time and or not give my time to the things that I feel like they should be given to. If I had children, I don't have children yet. When I do, I'm sure they'll demand my time in ways that sometimes I don't want to give, right? But that's okay. I'm good with that one. But I don't want some boss being like, oh yeah, you got to do this, and that whole thing. So
And that's the other thing about it, you know, how people's lives unfold when you have other responsibilities and other things you have to take care of, that impedes on your choices. You know, some choices you just don't have. And then some people are super brave. You know, God bless folks like the first person that comes to mind is Taraji P. Henson, because she had a child when she was in college and she was like, I'm still going to be an actor. And so with baby in tow, she moved to Hollywood. She said, I'm going to do it, you know, and we're not going to starve. And we, you know, my baby's going to be fine. And so am I. And she was able to make it work. Everybody's situation is different. And sometimes you can be as brave as you want to be, but certain things weigh on you and you just can't make those decisions. So
totally agree. You know, and you know, I think there's something else that you talk about too. When you know, the fact that, well, you know, it wasn't a 9 to 5, but it was, you know, some kind of employment, right? And that is, you know, dispelling the whole myth that, you know, it has to be this sexy jump into, like, you know, sink or swim entrepreneurship, right? Like that, you know, you can't have a job in some way, shape, or form and still also pursue your dream. I mean, there are all types of blends and mixes of a 9 to 5 type situation, or some kind of employment, some kind of consulting where you may get some kind of steady, you know, money coming in while you're continuing to to build your company. So I think it's important that our viewers and listeners, you know, get that it's not always just a, you know, okay, you know what, like your favorite movie or whatever, where they walk out of that, you know, that 9 to 5 and then they're in the basement, in the lab cooking up this amazing business, right? It's like, no, sometimes there is a process, and it makes a lot of sense, especially if you have other responsibilities. So, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs, and Taraji is a perfect example, right? You know, I'm pretty sure in the mix of that pursuit of that acting career was, you know, that little job, or those two little jobs as well, that, you know, go so that she can continue to go to class and do certain things. And then of course, you know, T Bake, you know, you're definitely a prime example of that, you know, for a certain period of time being on the radio, and then literally I'm talking to you and you're on your way to New York so that you can go ahead and get your classes in. So I mean, I think understanding like that balance of time, or time management, and then going back to the other point that you made around, you know, quality life equals, you know, the right mix of time and money, right? And that really is a, you know, it's a subjective topic, because people have, you know, they have different ideas of what that means, and also different ideas of what success means. So you might be at 6 figures and be like, yo, I made it. And other people are saying, okay, that was the first step. It depends on who you are, right? And what you're chasing after.
Right.
Yeah, some good stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, the idea of success is super critical.
Yeah, and a lot of times they're shaped by society, and sometimes by our parents, and it can put you in a negative loop. You go down this rabbit hole of misery just because you figure this is what I'm supposed to do, because I've been prepped to do this in this way, and then you realize midway through, I don't really like this. This is not how I wanted my life to go. This is not what I saw myself doing, and yet I'm here. And you said something really interesting, Rafiq, when you were telling your story about how if you had chosen that one path, you'd be making bucket loads of money. What do you say to someone who's like, no, but that's the point?
Listen, life is a spiritual thing for me, you know. So I would never tell someone they shouldn't be going after money. We live in a society only because we live in a society that needs it to operate. So if you need the tool, you got to use the tool to do the job, period. But if you think that money is anything besides that tool, I would ask you to take a step back. So certainly I want the money. I'm all about getting the money. I have an investor, and that's how I keep the business going. Shout out to her. And so we have to make money, right? But it's about how you make it. It's about what you're going to do with it. And like Donovan said, it's about your idea of success. You have to define your own. Again, we've been marketed to. So most of our ideas about success are what we see on television, what we see in the media, what we believe wealthy people have. And I'll say that again, what we believe wealthy people have. If you've never actually known wealthy people and been around them, you probably have a lot of misconceptions about how they live, just like those people have misconceptions about who you are. And
Yeah.
so, because the only thing they know about you is what they see on TV.
Yep.
And so, if you have poor images of black people on TV, talking about black people specifically, then people who don't know you and don't ever live with black people, that's what they know of you. I went to Jamaica. I've been to Jamaica a bunch of times, but once I went, and I purposely didn't. I have a piece of jewelry that I've had since '97. I've been wearing this since the Mayan calendar. I've been wearing this since I was a kid, basically. And I only wore this, right? And they saw me and they just swore I was a rap artist from the States. They're like, "You from the US?" I told them I was from Brooklyn, and they was like, "Oh, you from the US?" And they thought this was bling. There was this silver. This is just silver. That's all I wear is silver. They was like, "You doing it big, and where's the girls?" And da da da. And they were joking, but they were serious though. That was the topic. That's what they went to because that's what they see. And I'm black like them. So the marketing is no joke. The marketing is no joke. I speak to kids every once in a while, and one of the things I talk to them about is a course that I created called Intro to the Indie Life. And it's for like kids who are about to graduate. So 17, 18-year-old, preferably.
Okay. High schoolers.
High schoolers, yep, late high schoolers. And so I start out with what are their ideas about success and what do they think they want out of their lives. And inevitably, it has a lot to do with fashion and entertainment. And nobody ever says, I want to be a bookkeeper to an entertainer. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nobody ever says, I want to be the attorney for the entertainer. You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think what you said is really important. And when you talk about marketing, right? And then Tiffany, you hit the nail on the head around this idea around well, what is success often it's been pitched to us, right, as and we were spoon fed it literally before we could even eat solid food, right? So but when you talk about marketing, being the root, and then you taking the gifts and using it for good, can you share with the audience in terms of like some marketing or branding ideas without giving away the secret sauce for why they need to come down to your company, but give them some ideas around how they can start to market in some different ways that they can approach their marketing needs or branding needs. Something is like I would call it some little teasers, if you will. There you go.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm a big believer that marketing is hyper specific to the person doing the company doing the marketing and the people you're marketing to. Those are the first two things. So I guess that's the first tip: is know who your audience is. And I mean know them. Don't we assume we know? You know what I mean? Oh yeah, it's this dude. It's da, da, da. Write a profile. I would say take up one piece of paper, put at the top the first person, give them a name. It might be your cousin. Let's say your cousin is your ideal audience, right, for what you're doing. Describe your cousin. What do they like? What do they not like? How much do they make? How many kids do they have? You know what I mean? Those sorts of things. And when you start to do that, you'll start to think a little more deeply about who is this person and why do they need what I'm selling them? What is it about what I'm selling or servicing to them that they like or don't like? How do I play up the positives and play down the negatives? Um, that's a huge one. Honestly, you could you could go on and on just about your audience, because a lot of times we think we know who we're speaking to when we're not. We don't. And exposure, you got to be exposed to a lot of things to be able to know how to, think outside your own circle. Even the types of businesses that we tend to start are the ones that we are just so normal to us. Something that's every day, and that's a very good thing on one hand because if you're looking deeply and really observing, then you can see, oh, well, you know what? There's an issue. Everybody does this thing, but there's a problem with it. Everybody just deals with the problem. I'm gonna fix the problem in this thing. And now it's something that everybody does. So now the problem's fixed. Everybody's gonna be doing it even better and they're gonna thank me for it. You know what I mean? So that's the way it's, you wanna just go deeply into something that you feel is an issue or that you can fix or you can do better. Or you may be starting something brand new. You might have just looking around, you're like, something, I don't know what, I don't know what, I don't know what. And one day you're like, this is the thing that's been bothering me. You know,
No, I think it's a very good point, right?
Wait, I'm sorry, Donovan, before you continue, I want you to hold on to that thought. I have to take literally a 1-minute break. In that break, feel free to give us a call. The show is called Let's Talk with me, Tiffany Bacon, on the brand new 100.3 R&B and hip hop station. We welcome you to come in and ask questions of our guests. Feel free to call 215-263-1003. Today, we're actually streaming live on YouTube. Make sure we're friends on YouTube. Do you follow me on YouTube? I am Groove City Lady. Groove, get your groove on. City, like the city of Philly. Lady, which is what I am. Look for that on YouTube, and you will see our live stream of the show. So you can see myself, Donovan, and Rafiq, my guests. All right, so check us out over there. We're going to take a brief pause, and we'll be right back after this. Hey y'all, we have literally 1 minute, so it's like 54 seconds, and we'll be back live on the radio, literally.
All right.
50,
good stuff.
47 seconds.
These are great questions. You guys are getting me going. This is good.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate y'all.
What we do. It's what we do.
Yeah. When we come back, I'll let Donovan finish his question. Then we'll switch to talking about Black Friday is canceled and Indie Life Weekend.
Cool.
Awesome. 28 seconds. Stand by.
All right.
Studies show that the ingredients in Roundup can cause cancer. If you've had frequent exposure to Roundup and have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, call My Philly Lawyer.
Oh, so yeah, Rafiq, you can tell folks to check us out on YouTube. For whatever reason, the Facebook live stream wouldn't load. So we're on YouTube right now. Stand by.
When winning matters most.
So let's talk with Tiffany Bacon.
And welcome back. We are 100.3 hip hop and R&B. Welcome back to the program. I'm Tiffany Bacon, having a great conversation with my friend Rafiq, who is the founder of Indie Life. He has a lot of great events and a lot of great things going on. We want you to hear all about them. We are streaming live on my YouTube page. Follow me on YouTube. Subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you as a subscriber. So go over to Groove City Lady on YouTube, or just look for Tiffany Bacon. You'll see my face, and then subscribe, and you can watch the live stream of this conversation right now. Donovan West, co-host, friend to the show, offsite producer, was in the midst of a question to our guest, and I'll let you continue with that.
Oh, yeah, we were just talking about and getting some great tips from Rafiq regarding, marketing and I think that first tip, which is, understanding your audience, right? And I think one of the things we were talking about just prior to that is just how we, the audience, have also been programmed in many ways. And so I wanted you to talk a little bit about, that kind of program, like how marketing really is like a good course in psychology, right? In terms of really getting into the minds of your customers and maybe some thoughts you have about that as you talked about, sitting across the table with companies like, like Pepsi or these other, Fortune 100 companies. I'd like to hear some more about that in your perspective.
Yeah. Marketing is rough, man. The first, it was a high school teacher of mine that put the seed in my head. As a matter of fact, my parents did. They had a book. First of all, I'm gonna say that they wouldn't let me watch any kind of television when I was young. My parents are Muslim, and He-Man was the big thing when I was in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Other than Transformers,
yes.
Right? It was He-Man, and so they were like, "Ain't no white dude gonna be the master of the universe." You know what I'm saying? They were like, "We're not gonna support that." So I was like, "Okay." I hated it, of course, because I wanted the He-Man. I wanted the He-Man doll and all that. But as I look back much later, I realized that was my first introduction to the idea that you can't just ingest anything from television. So I didn't get it then, and I hated it, of course. So, but later, a high school teacher I had, there was a college prep course, and we had a business plan. We had to write a business plan, and he was the only teacher in the school that had real world business knowledge. He had jobs outside of being a teacher. Everyone else was teachers, lifelong teachers. Excuse me, and he would bring in a VHS cassette of the Super Bowl commercials. And from that year, everyone knows the Super Bowl commercials are the commercials. They are the most expensive, most well produced, the most celebrities, the new music launches from these commercials, whatever. So he brings them in.
Man, well, I'm
he's
like,
showing
this
us
lady
the
was
little-
like, that's not nice. You got to let people know.
Say again, Tiff?
Ma'am, I'm having another conversation.
Right. So he brought them in and he's breaking them down and showing us how everything in the commercial was orchestrated,
Yeah, I
to
don't know
make
who it
you
is yet.
buy,
I can't answer it
essentially,
live.
to soften your defenses, to make you want to accept what they're telling you. And there's also something interesting. You mentioned psychology. Something happens, it's called suspended belief when you watch television or a movie. Your mind knows that you're not viewing reality, and so it suspends your ability, not your ability, your willingness to decipher what's happening. That's why you can watch a cartoon and it doesn't have to make any sense at all, right? And you're okay with that because your brain knows that guy didn't fall off that building and just jump up, right? So that's what's going on. But that's what happens when you watch any kind of television. So if the television is telling you it's reality TV, you just caused a real issue in your brain. All right. So now you're viewing this as if it's not entirely real, but these are entirely real people. And those situations are real. They're contrived, but they are actually happening. Right. And so similar thing happens when you're watching a commercial. You know what I mean? It's not real. You could be watching a football game, and watching a football game, it's real. As soon as the commercial comes on, your brain says, "Oh, this is not real." That person got hurt on the field, and you're like, "Ooh, I felt that. Like I know that was bad." Right? You feel how bad that was. You go to a commercial right after that happened, and it's a cartoon sort of thing, and it's not real. The same thing happens. Somebody gets hurt, and you don't cringe, right? That's because your brain knows better. So that's what's going on in the commercial. And we are accepting these messages from these commercials all day, every day, not to mention the programming itself. So it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And it bothered the hell out of me when I was a kid. So I didn't know entirely what was going on with it, but it tweaked me. And it was years later before I came back to it and said, oh, this is what was going on with that. But it occurred to me that was a real problem. So, but also it's a phenomenal tool. I mean, you just can't. I mean, you have the 100.3 graphic behind you, right? Because people watching need to know where you are and reference. That's marketing. So that's good marketing. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So it's not, it's okay in and of itself, but it depends on how you use it.
Hey, by the way, Rafiq, you're not out the woods yourself. I mean, you got that really cool background as well, right? You got the cool thing. You got the landscape of the city. You get up, that chair, so people are like, oh, 46 in Baltimore, huh? Okay, got to check it out.
Exactly. I'm going to tell you what, I did that. I'm going to give you the secret. I did that on purpose. I hit Tiffany up at 7 and I was like, am I going to be on camera? And she said yes. And so I said, I got to go to the studio because if they get to see the studio, then that's some good marketing right there.
There you go.
That's why I'm letting you know, like, I see you.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
I love it. Yeah. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's hear a little bit more about Black Friday is canceled. Tell us about this here.
Just along the lines of what we've been talking about, honestly, Black Friday's canceled. So it's part of Indie Biz Weekend, my second annual Indie Biz Weekend. I launched it last year. It was indoors. We opened up a closed down restaurant for the day and did a pop-up inside. We had Congressman Dwight Evans come and speak. Jamie Gaultier sat down with the founder of Small But Mighty Arts and had a one-on-one. And we had a panel discussion called Neighborhood Changes, Indie Challenges. And the idea was, what's going on with gentrification? How does gentrification affect not just retail spaces, but people who work from home? And so we had some great panelists on that one. Algernon Allen, who you know. Ryan Spack of the Spack Group is a sustainable development group here in Philly. Actually, they're right up here in West Philly. Who else? Franchon Pryor, who's the president of the Baltimore Avenue Business Association, as well as Maranjali Meher-Bell, and she's a good friend of mine and the co-owner of Afro Taino Productions. So yeah, they sat down for a conversation. It was really awesome. Look, obviously this year we couldn't do it the same way, so we wanted to do more of an online campaign. And because of what's been going on, the concept of Black Friday just seemed entirely crass to me in a year like this, and so it just seemed like a really good opportunity to say what I've always been feeling about Black Friday, which is Black Friday's canceled. And so yeah, we put together a campaign that would allow us to not only support small businesses themselves. So you can win a goodie bag. It's a goodie bag campaign. And just by shopping with a small business or promoting a small business online and using our hashtags, you get entered to win one of these goodie bags. And so we have 20 different businesses represented in 5 goodie bags. The goodie bags I put together with some really awesome partners. The West Philly goodie bag is we curated it with Jamie Gaultier, the councilwoman, also with State Rep Rick Krajewski. He actually used my studio as his, this is a co-working space as well. And so he used this space as his campaign headquarters while he was running, and he won. So congratulations to him. He was involved, also Centennial Park CDC, who's responsible for the Parkside area, Centennial Parkside CDC, excuse me, right over there by the man. They're responsible for that area. They're doing really good work. So yeah, we all got together, put together a bag, and it's all sorts of good stuff in there. One of the things included in the West Philly bag, just for example, is Nate McIntyre, who owns Body Rock Boot Camp up on 38th and Lancaster.
Okay.
And yeah, he was just recently featured on an episode of Queer Eye, where they renovated his place and did the whole thing they do. And he actually just hired Indie Life to be his sort of brand coach and business coach. So we just started working together. It seemed like a great way. Again, just these connections, you know what I mean? Putting these connections together and trying to present them to the whole city. So again, if you go online, promote, you might have a friend that has a business, go to their page, share a post of theirs, use our tags, and you're entered to win one of these goodie bags.
Oh, so that can still happen today. So all throughout the day, people can do that today.
All throughout the day. Today's the last day. It launched on the 27th, launched on Black Friday, and it ends today. Yep. So all you got to do is go online, or if you shop with one, again, we'd rather have you shop with one, of course. You can shop online, post the receipt, post, yourself with the product, whatever. Use our tags again, and you'll be entered to win one of these goodie bags.
Oh, I love it. So folks need to get on that. Where can they go again to find out more? For those who are tuning in and like, okay, you said that kind of fast.
Right. So yeah, all the info was at indiebizweekend.com. INDIEBIZWKND. So weekend is abbreviated. Indiebizweekend.com.
Fantastic. Now, I know you have a web series. Tell us about what that's about.
I do. I'm super excited about that. Yeah, so we launched it again, this indie life. I'm seeing people transition into it, and I've been living it so long. I think the thing that really sparked me was on Twitter. Somebody said, "What the hell is Zoom?" or something like that was their tweet. And I said to myself, wow, people still don't know what Zoom. I've had a Zoom account for like 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? So these online tools are critical to my business. And I know that people are unaware. They're just not used to them. And any app takes a while to get used to. And to run a business, you need a good 3 or 4 apps easily. You know what I mean? I use probably 10 on any given day between Google Calendar and my project management tools and my bookkeeping. You know what I mean? Like it's all, you need all of them. So it takes time to get used to them. So anyway, what I wanted to do was really show people, give people the insight into what some of these indie lifers do and how they do it. So today, the 4th episode, we have our girlfriend, Laia St. Clair, who has been, right? She's a DC native, but she's been in Philly for a long time. She's definitely a Philly sister. And she's out in LA now, but she's turned into the podcast queen. So she's producing podcasts for Questlove. She just launched one with Jill Scott and Asia from Kindred. She does one with Visit Philly. And as you know, she's been a personality for forever. So yeah, I want to show people what it looks like to do that at home. What does it mean? You listen, you hear these great stories, but that person didn't just show up to the studio and drop some bombs on you. You know what I mean? There's people working behind the scenes to make that happen. There's technology behind the scenes that helps make that happen, as you all know, right? So I wanted to give people a peek into that world. So we have guests. We had Mark Ruffin on early this week on Thursday. We had Mark Ruffin. Mm-hmm. And he's a costume designer and Emmy award-winning costume designer. Mm-hmm. He's worked at the Jim Henson Company. He's worked on all sorts of Hollywood films. He was working on the Aretha Franklin story for National Geographic before the pandemic hit. Right. So he had to put that away. But we got to peek into his basement. He calls it the bat cave, where he makes all of his gems and props and stuff. But again, just trying to take away the veil a little bit, you know what I mean, and show what's going on behind the curtain. And I think that's, for me, the big deal. I've always loved what's going on behind the curtain. I love entertainment. I'm a music freak. I mean, I'm a music freak. I love music. When I talk to people, they're like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm listening to some music. They're like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm listening to music. Right. It's an activity.
It is most definitely an activity.
You know what I mean? So, but there's so much that goes on. I've been in the studio. I've recorded, I own the production company. So people don't know what goes on behind the scenes. You know what I mean? And if they think they know what's going on with the recording side, just use entertainment as an example, they don't know what goes on behind the business side. So there's always another curtain to pull back. And for me, that's why I've just always lived. As much as I've been kind of a front person, being on stage and all that kind of stuff, I just love what's going on behind the scenes. So
yeah, I love it. Donovan.
Yeah, as you talk about that, pulling back the veil and creating more clarity, right? So, we were talking about it earlier in terms of there's always a ton of myths, whether there are myths around how you believe, the richer side is living, or there are myths around, how poor people live. There are myths around, what is success. And there are definitely myths around every business in terms of, what are the things you come to believe, So for you, right, as a entrepreneur, someone who's been in that space for a couple decades at this point, what was the number one myth, right, that you had about business that you had to confront? Maybe you struggle with it. Even as you were in business, you were still trying to live a little bit of that myth as opposed to what the reality was.
That's a really good one. I don't, you know what? Okay, especially because I was in events early on. I think the thing, and it applies across the board, but it especially applies to an event because it comes and it goes. It's got a deadline. It's a wrap. Is how long things take. The process. Again, this idea of time. We don't have anything besides time. Okay, so all your clothes, your house, your car, you don't own anything but your time. And so how long does something take to do it? You think it only takes a minute. You think because I want to get in the radio. Oh, wait, I know Tiffany Bacon. That's a wrap. Tiffany gonna put me on. I'm gonna, that's it. I know Donovan. Donovan helps businesses. That's it. We're gonna do it, and that's the end of it. Now you talking to your friends, and you're like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And you haven't done anything. And I think the time and the process that things take cannot be shortened now. And we have that even worse now. I think young people have it even worse than a normal human does. I think everybody thinks this, but and sort of assumes things take less time than they do. But I think the younger folks of us have it way worse because things actually do happen instantly in their world. We lived in a time when that wasn't the case. So as much as it is the case now, I don't think we assume that that's the way the world is, even though that's the way things are. And I think that because that's the way things are for them, that's the way they think the world is. And so it isn't, you know what I mean? It takes a lot of time. And I think that's probably, that's a great question. I don't know if I've ever thought about that, but that would probably be the biggest myth that, I could plan an event in a month, you know what I mean? Or I can, oh yeah, I had the idea, I'm just going to do it and we're going to set the date. Boom. No, I need to set that date like 3 months, 6 months out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, this second annual event, we started planning it in August of the year we launched it. And we started again, we would have been working on it all year had COVID not hit for this year, but we started again in August, you know what I mean? And that was 4.5 months, and it still wasn't enough time, you know what I mean? because something like this takes a ton of time to put together. So I would say that's it.
No, thanks. But there goes that marketing again, right? I think that, we look at television, right? Things, you talked about, your new client, that has the gym, and how they were on Queer Eye, and what did they do? They redid the shop, right? They did the whole space over, but that all happened in like inside of the hour, right? So people tend to think like, oh wow, this happened, that happened, but what happened actually behind the scenes, the planning and things of the nature, to know that even for them to choose that site, right? The producers and all the research and all that stuff that took place, probably, that was about 8 or 9 months even prior to anything happening, right? And then also, of course, these other platforms like your Snapchat and your Instagram, where we tended to see all the highlights and none of the actual process in itself. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you make a lot of sense.
Oh, this is all great. Believe it or not, we only have a few minutes left in the program. I know it goes by so fast, right?
It does. It does.
With just a 1 minute break this time, because normally our breaks are a little bit longer. And yeah, one break and it's almost done. Before we close out, what is the most important thing that you can share with us, Rafiq, about living the indie life, especially for someone who is transitioning from regular 9 to 5, 7 to 11 work life?
Yeah, I say take your time with it. I say, I had a client that at her job, she went part-time for 6 months before she quit altogether. You know what I mean? Like Donovan said, there's just so many. There is no one path to this thing. It just isn't. It just isn't. And so, whatever your way is, give it time to just do what it needs to do. The other thing is, I'm gonna say, which even maybe is even more important, is to just go ahead and. It sounds corny and cliche, but to really believe in yourself. I think that I don't think that I've seen it a dozen times. I turned to this point, I turned my consultations into something called an ask and listen session, because I have to spend a lot of time listening to people in what they think they want to do and how they think they want to get there. And so when I'm listening, I hear so much doubt with people. You know what I mean? Especially leaving something stable, coming into a world that's unknown, you know what I mean? And it's real. It's not that you shouldn't be scared. You should feel for your life. You absolutely should. It's not a joke. It is not a joke at all. At the same time, don't let you've been marketed to. Your disbelief in yourself did not come from you. You know what I mean? Whatever it may have been that you've seen in your life made you think that, because listen, doing something is literally as simple as saying, I need to scratch my ear. I just did that. My mind said I needed to put my finger to my ear. Mm-hmm. I know that sounds a little silly, but that's something that you just did. Right. You had the thought and you did it. And so you didn't think to yourself, oh, I can't scratch my ear. I can't who do I think I am to scratch my head, right? Because it's just there's no reason for you to think that. And it's the same way with you starting something that you want to start or doing something that you want to do. It's about just doing it, because that's the power that the Creator has given us to do things. It's why we have hands and feet and a mind and a mouth. So you can do it. The idea that maybe not, the only thing that should stop you or hold you up is if you know what you're doing. So just take time to know what you're doing. I'm not saying rush out and just go do anything just because you thought of it. That's not what I'm saying either. Okay, you got to have balance, but at the same time, learn what you're doing. I deal with insecurities. I didn't graduate college, and when I go into meetings, especially coming up, I don't really go through this too much anymore. But when I was coming up, I was very self-conscious about. I'm at the table with VPs of companies. I'm black. I wear dreads. I've always had dreads. I'm a young man. I'm a hip hop dude. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I go into the office with those sorts. I'm carrying all of that. But as soon as I open my mouth, all that goes away. All of that goes away. And they're like, oh, Rashid. Oh, we need you can you do this project also? Da, da, da. You know what I mean? So over the years, I've realized, yo, man, You thought that about yourself because that's what people think of black dudes. Because again, that's what's marketed to you. So it was even my own self identity was being marketed against my own self. How crazy is that? How crazy is that?
Super
Right?
crazy. Super
So
crazy.
anyway, I say believe in what you can do. You can do it. Learn it, and then go do it.
I love it. Final thoughts, Donovan, in our last 3 minutes.
No, listen, I think that this is a great show, and we need to do some, a series of these, and we're looking forward to supporting you, Rafiq, and all that you do. And, Tiff knows that when it comes to these business talks about entrepreneurship, about supporting Black businesses, about also, removing the veil so that, people have as much information as possible so that they can make an informed decision about wherever it is that they're about to go. I'm all for it, right? I'm here for it. So I'm excited to hear all the things that you shared. And I want to just kick it back over to you, Rafiq, in terms of how can people get in touch with you and also continue to support.
Thank you so much, Donovan and Tiff. I really appreciate the time and the conversation. I really do. And to the audience, hope y'all got something out of it. You can catch me at indielifemedia.com is our media site. You can catch us at indielifeevents.com is our event site. And as far as Black Friday's canceled, you can catch that at Indie Biz Weekend. That's WKND.com. And all of our social media is Indie Life Media at Indie Life Media at all of them.
Absolutely, absolutely love it. And let folks know what time and where they can catch the web series today.
Yes, so the web series will be on today at noon. I'll have Laia talking about her podcasts, all her various podcast work, and showing you how she does what she does. That will be on my channels, or you can look up on Facebook Live, My Indie Workspace.
Love it. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rafiq. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Really
Thank
do.
you. And thank you, Donovan.
Thank you,
I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. And Donovan, thank you as always. Thanks for everything for today.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you much. Also, want to give a big shout out to the folks who are checking us out live streaming to YouTube this morning. We usually live stream to Facebook, but today we're live streaming on YouTube, and I appreciate that. If you are watching and you're not a subscriber to my channel, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. I would love for you to see what other videos I have available on the site. If you're checking us out here at the new 100.3 R&B and hip hop, please go on over to the YouTube page and click subscribe as well. Thank you so much, Manuel, for helping me out with the phones this morning. I appreciate you. We want you to have a peaceful, positive, and productive day. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
I love.
So tight for 1 second. My TV puts a bow on it.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much.
Are we done?
Yeah.
All right, I'm taking stuff.
No, you take it.
Hey, I was noticing it's really interesting.
Yep. Well done, man. Well done. Good gems, good nuggets, man.
Thank you. So we are still actually streaming on YouTube. If you guys want to wrap up a couple things and say good day, goodbye.
I just want to, everybody that's listening, I hope that you share this, that you share with some people, because I'm pretty sure right now there are a ton of people that are at this fork in the road, right? And they're saying to themselves, I don't know. Well, I think you just heard it from another subject matter expert, Rafiq, as he broke it down and said, listen, number one, you got to believe in yourself, right? And when you believe in yourself, you go beyond just the idea, the initial thought about it, and now you move into, okay, what can I actually do about it? And then after that, whether you're in the music industry or you're in a real bit or in another business, you got to do your R&D, right? You got to do your research and development. You got to go ahead and do the homework. And part of it is not just on, the particular industry, but also on who you're going to target your industry on in terms of your clients. So getting your homework done, do your homework, eat your vegetables, as they say, you got to go ahead and get that part done. But then the last part, which I heard, and I think all of us have to, keep reiterating to ourselves every day in the journey, is trust the process. Like the time that you got to go ahead and invest in it, the same way that you're getting that recipe together. Do not think you're just going to be able to flash fry and then it's all good to go. Sometimes you got to focus on at a certain stage. You got to let it marinate. And at another stage, you got to let it bake.
Yep, that's right.
I love it. Thank you. And with that, I got to close it down. But thank y'all. I love y'all so much. Thanks for watching for the first time on YouTube, y'all. Thank you. I'm pretty sure once we stop this, it'll still be available on YouTube so people can watch it later.
No doubt.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All
right. Love y'all. Thank you.
All right, peace.
Bye-bye.
Yo, Rafiq, let me get your number, all right?
Yeah, for sure.
Wait, we are still live, so y'all might want to text. I'll send that out. We still live, so I'm just saying.
Peace. Yeah, you don't want that.
Nah. You don't want that.
No. We're not doing that.
Okay.
No drama